Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's really wonderful to see you here. And I'd love to begin by just seeing where you're from. So if you can, in the chat, just write what country, what city you're from. Would love to see it. So Buenos Aires, Mexico City, Boston, Mexico, Orlando, wow, Peru, Brazil, Panama, Montreal, Venezuela, Saigon, Chile, New York City, Brooklyn, baby, Uruguay, Switzerland, wow, it's late for you, Switzerland, Venezuela, that's amazing, Philippines, Bolivia, that is wonderful to see you. Welcome from wherever you are and whenever you are, whether it's the middle of the day, middle of the night, or anything in between. So here's what we're going to do today. So we have an hour, a little longer if we need. And I'm going to start by talking a little bit about how small changes can make a big difference and how basically we can say goodbye to our excuse, the most common excuse, which is I don't have time, and how we can bring about meaningful, deep, real change through small, minimum interventions. Afterwards, we're going to open it up. I'm going to invite Mr. Yuval Kutz, who is the president of the Happiness Studies Academy. He'll speak to us about the certificate in happiness studies, and then Yuval and I will be here to answer your questions, and the questions can be about what I had just spoken about, the how small changes can make a big difference, or anything from the field of happiness studies, or anything about the certificate, any question that you may have about it. So that's what we're going to do today, but I want to start with the topic that I must say I'm very excited about talking about it because I think it's so incredibly important. Because as I mentioned, probably the number one excuse for people saying why they're not introducing psychological change in their lives is because they don't have time, because they're busy. Well, I'd like to introduce you to a new concept, which is called minimum viable interventions. Now, this term, minimum viable interventions, may sound, writing to you in the chat, may sound familiar to you because there is a term which is called minimum viable product. It was introduced by Frank Robinson. And today in the world of startups and IT, it's very commonly used where people want to introduce a beta version of a product. They introduce an MVP, minimum viable product, in order to test it in the market. And it's the MVP is basically good enough to take to market so that people can test it, try it, give feedback, and so that then the next stage can be a more baked product, so to speak. But the MVP, good enough to be out there in the world. Well, minimum viable interventions are just that. They're interventions that we introduce in our lives, small interventions, but they are significant enough to actually bring about real change. And in a few minutes, I'll give you a few examples and you'll see just how viable they are, how possible, how accessible they are to all of us. You see, the thing is about bringing about change is that the small stuff can and does make a big difference if it is consistently applied. In fact, if it's consistently applied, it makes more of a difference than, say, a significant or a major intervention that is introduced just once or even 5 times. So if we introduce small changes, but we do it over and over again, day in and day out, or week in and week out, over time, this will have more of an impact. Let me give you a few examples just to bring this idea home. So let's say you have the opportunity to go on a 10-day meditation retreat. They've become pretty popular these days, the Vipassana retreat or any other form of retreat for 10 days. It's a silent meditation. It's a very powerful experience. However, if you had the choice between either doing that or not either going to the 10-day retreat or spending 3 minutes a day meditating consistently, day in and day out, say for a period of a year, even though the 10 days, the amount of time is quite a bit longer than the 3 minutes a day, still the impact of the 3 minutes a day would be more significant. Why? Small changes make a big difference if consistently applied. Or let's take another example. You can run on the weekend 20 miles, almost a marathon, or you run 3 times a day, 3 miles. So while in case 1, you run 20 miles a week, case 2, you only run 9 miles a week, the impact of the 3, 3, and 3 will be more significant, greater, even though it's smaller. Why? Because small changes make a big difference if consistently, repeatedly applied. I'll give you another example. You have an opportunity to go with your partner for a around the world trip for a whole month. Or what you introduce into your relationship are small love boosters. So, perhaps more hugs, more paying a little bit more attention to your partner here and there, buying them perhaps, flowers on a regular basis. Small changes, but consistently applied, they will have more of an impact on the relationship than that one very significant, large intervention. Now, why do these small interventions work? Let's go a little bit, under the hood. Let's understand the psychological mechanism that leads to those small interventions having a big impact. The reason is because our world comprises spirals. When I was an undergraduate, so back in the early 90s, I studied with Professor Richard Hackman. And Richard Hackman was, world leading authority on studying teams, groups, whether it's sports groups, whether it's musical orchestras, whether it's business teams. He would study those. But one year, my senior year in college, he said to his students, he said, this year I'm going to teach a seminar. The whole seminar is going to be about spirals, because I think spirals are the DNA. They're what makes up our reality. It was probably the most interesting and important course that I ever took as an undergrad or graduate student. And what Richard Hackman talked about, and what we ended up talking about throughout the semester, is how, if you want to understand reality, you need to understand that reality is not just about a cause and effect relationship. Rather, it's about spirals, and spirals are all around us and within us. For example, let me share with you a scenario. You come to work in the morning, and the first person you see says to you, "Wow, you look great." Now, how do you feel? You feel fantastic, and suddenly you light up a little bit more. And the next person sees you and sees the aftermath of the first person who told you look great, and he says, "Wow, you look amazing," and you feel even better. And then you actually work a little bit better as well, because you have more energy. And then people see you and comment on the energy and so on and so on. And that one comment in the morning created an upward spiral. And from one comment, you suddenly are having a great day. Let's look at the opposite example. You come to work and The first person who sees you says, is there anything wrong? Now, there may have been nothing wrong before, but now there is, because you think, you're not looking good. What's happening? And then the next person sees you again, the aftermath of what the first person saw, and also comments on, is there anything wrong? And you feel worse and worse and worse in a downward spiral. And that's how it works. One comment can make our day or ruin our day. Or let me give you an example of an actual intervention from the field of positive psychology. We know that people who count their blessings, who write down, say, 3 to 5 things that they're grateful for at the end of the day, these people are happier, more motivated. They are physically healthier. So what it takes 2-3 minutes to do, not even. They're physically healthier as a result. They're kinder and they're more successful. All this as a result of counting your blessings, spending 1-2 minutes a day focusing on what you're grateful for. Why does it work? How does such a small change make such a big difference? Because what this gratitude exercise does is, again, launch an upward spiral, because you feel good when you're doing it. A minute later, you see someone, or someone sees you and says, oh, you're looking great. You're in a better mood. You work better. As a result of working better, you're in an even better mood, and on in an upward spiral. And that's how our life works. And therefore, those small changes, that 3 minutes of meditation that can launch an upward spiral for the whole day, or that gratitude exercise, or those mini love boosters with your partner, or going for a run, whether it's on a daily basis or every other day, you feel better after a run, and then your day goes better and your life goes better. So those small changes, consistent, create spirals on an ongoing basis. And therefore, your life as a whole improves as a result of those small interventions. Now, the nice thing about these small interventions is, of course, they're easier to implement. To get yourself to run those 20 miles or even 10 miles over the weekend, or to get yourself to go on a Vipassana retreat for 10 days, that's challenging. Some people do it, and that's great. I'm not against those major interventions, but they're more difficult to initiate, and they're certainly more difficult to repeat. Moreover, if we only repeat them once a week or once a year, they have less of an effect. But those small interventions, they're easy. Just 3 minutes. It's just 2 minutes of the gratitude exercise. They're easy. And the nice thing about them is not only are they easy to implement, they're also cumulative. And here I want to share with you a few very important studies that point to why and how these interventions have an effect. So for example, you go to the gym and you work out for 30 minutes. That's great. That is, if you do it 3 times a week, the benefits thereof are major. In fact, regular physical exercise has the same effect on our psychological well-being as our most powerful psychiatric medication. And by regular physical exercise, that's 30 minutes 3 times a week, not that much. But what the research shows is that those 30 minutes don't have to be done all at the same time. Meaning, if I get up in the morning and I walk for 5 minutes, and then halfway through the day I do another 3 minutes, and then another 7 minutes, and by the end of the day I've accumulated 30 minutes, it has the same effect as going to the gym for 30 minutes. So that's one study that I wanted to share. Here's another. When it comes to physical exercise, high intensity interval training, what's called HIIT, high intensity interval training, is about getting our pulse up very high. So, sprinting on the spot, or doing jumping jacks, or, chin-ups or sit-up, whatever, or swimming very quickly, but getting our pulse up and then letting it drop, and then getting it up again and letting it drop again, and then doing it again. It turns out that doing this 3 or 4 times, so it could be 30 seconds to a minute of very hard, intensive work, and then resting for a minute or 2, and then doing this again, full out, and then resting again, and then a 3rd set or 4 sets, that has the same impact as a full workout. Full workout being anywhere between 30 minutes to 60 minutes. If we do it 3 times a week, we get our quota. So that workout can take 10 minutes, because we're 30 seconds on, let's say 2 minutes off. 30 seconds or a minute on, 2 to 3 minutes off. And then again, once our pulse goes down, we go up again, 3 to 4 sets, 10 minutes, and we're done. That's a workout. So this is interesting research, and you should look it up. There's a lot of, I'm just giving you literally the tip of the iceberg here. So that's high intensity interval training. So you can't really say, well, I don't have time. Let me make it even simpler for you. This is research that came out very recently. It's called the Wingate Protocol. And you can look it up on the web, Wingate Protocol. And what was shown in that research is if we get our pulse up, let's say to 90 to 95% of our maximum. In other words, really for 30 seconds, run on the spot or do jumping jacks or whatever it is, burpees, whatever gets our pulse up. We do it once, and then we go on a break and we continue our day. And 4 hours later, we do the same thing again, get our pulse up, and then go about and do other things that we wanted to do. And then 2 hours or 5 hours later, we do another set. 3 sets a day, not one after the other. So we don't even sweat, because we just do it once, and then a few hours later again, and then climb up the stairs, but get our pulse up. We do it 3 times, and then we do this on 3 days during the week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. After 4 weeks, we see a significant improvement in our fitness levels. This is considered a workout. Now, you're not sweating, because in 30 seconds, you're probably not going to sweat. You are doing it, and it's good for you because it's good to get up once in a while anyway. It's not good to be sitting down, for 10 hours. In fact, it's very harmful. More and more doctors are talking about sitting as the new smoking, because it has such a negative impact on our physical and mental health. So you're refreshing yourself when you take those breaks. You do it a few times a day. You can do it every day if you want, or 5, 6 days a week, or just 3 times a week, but you're getting a workout. No excuse, no time. All you need to do is, get up once in a while, do your thing, maybe your push-ups or sit-ups or whatever it is that gets your pulse up. And then you go back to work, and you're even more productive and more creative because your blood is flowing again. And it's healthy. You're getting a workout. Let me share with you another study that points to the same thing. So this was done by a professor from Japan. His name is Riku Yoshida. And here is what he did. He asked people to lift weights, to do hand curls, working on their biceps. And they had to do 6 of those with a heavy weight. So it was difficult for them to do, basically pushing themselves to the limit, but only 6, both hands, hand curls. 6. One group did those 6, did 5 sets of 6 on one day. The second group did 6 on one day, and then the following day, 6 more, and the following day, 6 more, 5 days during the week. In other words, they did the same amount, but one group did it all together, with 1 or 2 minutes break in between. The second group did it on day 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Both groups saw some benefit. The second group saw a great deal more benefit, both in terms of the bulk of the muscle and, even more importantly, in terms of the strength that they developed. One set a day. Again, you're not sweating when you're doing one set a day. It's easy. You can have your weights right next to you. Okay, so every day at 10 a.m., I do my weights. At noon, I run on the spot. At 2 p.m., I run on the spot again. Afterwards, I do some, sit-ups, whatever. At different times during the day. And let's say you find 3-4 times during the day. It doesn't even have to be every day, though. I think it's good to do every day, because then you're also moving. Remember, sitting is the new smoking. And you do it regularly. That is a fitness regime. Without having to go to the gym, without having to sweat, without having to take 2 hours of your time a day. Now, I'm not against the 2 hours in the gym. I'm not against a 90-minute yoga session. I'm not against a 10-day Vipassana retreat. And I'm certainly not against a month or two around the world with your partner. By all means. However, if you don't have time, or in addition to those major interventions, introduce those MVIs, minimum viable interventions. And there are many of them. Let me list just a few. These are all based on the SPIRE model. SPIRE stands for spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, and emotional. The SPIRE model is what we teach as part of our certificate in happiness studies, as well as part of our master's degree in happiness studies. So based on the SPIRE model, here are just a few MVIs, minimum viable interventions. So when it comes to spiritual well-being, 1 minute of mindfulness meditation. Have a mindful minute when you wake up in the morning or halfway through the day, or take 3 deep breaths on a regular basis. Set your alarm clock to remind you to just close your eyes and breathe in through your nose, all the way down to your belly, and then out. Doing this 1, 2, 3 times a day can go a long way in resetting the fight or flight response, switching it to the relaxation response. So that's spiritual well-being. Physical well-being, I spoke about many examples, whether it's running on the spot for 30 seconds, or jumping jacks, or lifting weights, once a day on one weight group. Or another example of physical well-being, cold shower. If you can end your warm shower with 30 seconds or 45 seconds of cold shower, that actually goes a long way in strengthening your immune system and making you feel better. So these are some examples. Physical well-being. Intellectual well-being. Have a quote or 2 quotes that you read consistently during the week, once a day for each one. A quote that inspires you, for example. Take 2 minutes, and there's research by Laura King showing that 2 minutes of journaling can go a long way in terms of contributing to your psychological and physical well-being. So that's intellectual well-being. Relational well-being can be about committing to small acts of kindness, 1 extra act of kindness a day, or to more hugs. There's research showing that hugs contribute to your physical and mental health. So these are minimum viable interventions. And when it comes to emotional well-being, I've talked about gratitudes. Counting your blessings. Oprah told us to do it. She was right. There's a lot of research showing the benefits of gratitudes. Another emotional well-being intervention could be reframing certain emotional experiences. For instance, when I speak to an audience, I can change my perception of it from it being a threat to being an opportunity, from being a threatening experience to being an opportunity to sharing what I care about so much with others. And just reframing, and it takes 30 seconds. I just did it. Reframing can change our emotional response to situations. I just gave you really the tip of the iceberg of the MVI universe. MVIs are among the things that we introduce in the certificate in happiness studies, and which you get to introduce to your life consistently. And this is how small changes can and do make a big difference. All right, let's move on. I want to share with you more about the certificate in happiness studies. And where we'll start is I'm going to share with you a video that was pre-recorded by Mr. Yuval Kutz, who's my dear friend and partner, the president of the Happiness Studies Academy. So, and after this short video, Yuval and I will respond to your questions. And again, any questions about MVIs, about the field of happiness studies, about the certificate, or any other topic you wish to bring up.
Hi everyone. The Certificate in Happiness Studies is a year-long program. The program is offered in English, Spanish, Portuguese, Japanese, Chinese, and Hebrew. It is composed of 2 parts, both about the same length. The first is called Introduction to Happiness Studies, and the second is called Facilitating Happiness. While the first part focuses on theory, although it has some practice in it, the second part relies more about applied techniques, although it has some theory in it. This is an interdisciplinary journey in which we will learn the relationship between not just positive psychology, but also literature, art, science, and other fields related to happiness. The entire program has a weekly structure with the following components. First of all students in the same cohort start off at the same day. And every week you receive access to 4 15 minutes pre-recorded lectures. Altogether, 1 hour. All of the lectures are delivered by Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar. You can watch these lectures at your convenience. It's online, and they will always be available for you to go back and watch again. Every week, students are invited to join a 1-hour live webinar with Tal, in which they can discuss happiness, the topics of the course, and their personal lives directly with Tal. Last but not least, all students get access to their personal life journal. The life journal is a weekly follow-up to the lessons with additional exercises, extra readings, videos, journaling, meditations, yoga, and much more. The life journal is divided into 3 depth categories. The first category is called GEM, G-E-M, which stands for Good Enough Mark. The second category is GEM Plus, and the third one is GEM Plus Plus. In order to earn the Certificate in Happiness Studies, you are required to go through the GEM category, which will take you about 2 hours a week, in addition to the 1-hour lecture. You can always go back and drill down to any of the subjects with the GEM Plus and the GEM Plus Plus. This could take you a lifetime. Speaking of lifetime, you get lifetime access to this life journal, which holds the most comprehensive bibliography of research and material about happiness out there today. Actually, you're getting lifetime access to us as well. As HSA alums, you will get your Certified Happiness Trainer certificate, invitations to our annual gatherings, support from HSA faculty and the entire community. Additionally, we prepared a ready-made short course for our graduates containing suggested exercises and videos. The course was designed specifically for our graduates to collaborate with HSA and deliver it in any way that they choose. It is extremely important for us to give you all the tools needed to pursue a career and work in this field. I would like to thank you for taking the time today and for the interest you're showing in this program.
Okay, without further ado, Yuval, how are you?
Always embarrassing to see myself on video.
Nice to meet all of you. We do this week by week, and during the certificate in happiness studies, it happens every week. And in this kind of gathering, we see new faces, and it's always nice to see that. New places, new faces. I look at the chat, and it's very vibrant. And thank you all for doing that. Hoping that you say things in your lecture, and they ask questions and they answer each other, and it's already happening there, and it's very nice to see that. So I was about to answer a few questions, but I was too slow. Great
Yeah,
to see.
that's the nice thing about creating a community. And as you know, my favorite part of the certificate in happiness studies are the webinars, because every week we get to meet, to interact, and so many fascinating ideas come up. So today it's every Thursday. So earlier today, we spoke about parenting, and we spoke about business, and we did speak about spirals and depression and joy. So it's really the whole gamut, and every week such deep conversations. It's wonderful, and the community then meets independently, whether it's physically, people who are living in the same location, or virtually from wherever they are.
If you have any questions, then you can use the raise hand feature on the Zoom. It's under, I think, reactions or.
Yeah, we have a few hands up.
And we do have a few hands up, and we have a few questions in the chat. Maybe we'll take those for a second, because they're quite. How big are the cohorts? So we open 3 cohorts a year. The next one, it's actually it's February, June, and October. The next one is opening October 3rd, just about 2 weeks from now. And the cohorts are around 150 students each cohort. So this is for that. And what about the weekly talks? Are there in English? Tal speaks English, but as I mentioned in the video, the course is delivered in English, Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, Japanese, and Hebrew. The live talks are in English with simultaneous translation to Spanish and Chinese every other week. So 1 week it's for in Chinese, and the other week it's in Spanish. All of the lectures are also recorded. So if you did not watch that and you missed that, so you can always go back to a session that you missed. In Japanese, the recorded session is translated into Japanese. It's not live translation. Basically, that's it.
So why don't we take a hand, Yuval, and then we can go back to the questions. So Tatiana.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
I'm very happy that I have this opportunity to talk to you. I have already visited your first webinar like 2 weeks ago about the introducing. I'm Ukrainian. Currently, I'm in US, and this course and this everything which concerns the happiness is very actual for me right now, for my family, for my country, and it was like a sign that I have a chance to get the knowledges from you. But my question is that English is my second language, and my first degree is a master. I'm a master in law, so I have nothing really what is really related to psychology or any kind of social science, and my English level is not so probably high or specific to take a course. That's what I think. That's my fear, and that's why I remember you gave us a name like Dawn last time.
Mhm.
I wrote an email with the questions I have about this, but there was no answer. Like that was invalid email or something like this. So that's why I'm asking right now. If English is my second language and I don't have any previous degrees in a psychology or any kind of scientific science, can I participate in this course, or it's better for me to prepare, let's say, for the session in July to know more about the topic in general, to understand it, and to be to feel comfortable
Mhm.
of studying. You
So,
understand?
Tatiana, just to clarify, are you asking about the master's degree in happiness studies, or are you asking about the certificate in happiness studies? Because
uh,
they're two different programs.
that's
Let's clarify that. Let's
that's
clarify that. Let's use that
Yes.
question to clarify that. Actually, your question was divided into three parts. The first part is the difference between the certificate in happiness studies and the master's degree, because you mentioned Dawn, and Dawn is working on the master's degree. We have the certificate program, which I talked about now. The certificate program is a one-year program. It's been running in the past 4.5 years, 3 cohorts a year. The certificate program comprised of 2 courses, Introduction to Happiness Studies and Facilitating Happiness. Both courses are also within another product that we have, which is the master's degree. The master's degree will be launched for the first time in this October, and those 2 courses are part of the master's degree. So actually, when someone is taking the certificate program, even if he doesn't want to, he already started the MA, because those are already counted for the MA. While doing the MA, he will probably need to submit some paperwork and to be graded for, while in the certificate program, we don't do grades. You just go through the material, the same material, but without grades. So basically, this is the main difference. A lot of our graduates of the certificate are continuing now to the master's degree. And it is also retroactively approved by the Commission of Higher Education in the United States, because the master's degree is fully accredited program, fully online, fully accredited program. The certificate program, of course, is way cheaper than the master's degree, because it's a certificate program. It has 2 courses. This is for the first question. The second question was about the language barrier. So for the certificate program, you know, it is delivered in English and in other languages, but not in Russian yet, or
Or Ukrainian. Yeah.
Or Ukraine, exactly. It is, you know, I hear your English now, and I'm trying to, if you can handle yourself during
definitely
this call,
good,
and you understand everything that I is saying and everything that I'm explaining now, I think your English is good enough to go through the certificate program. It's not, it does not require any, you know, the English there is not so, I would say, hard to understand, and Tal's pace of delivering the content is quite similar to the one that he's using now during this call. So if you manage yourself here, I think this is the English that is good enough for the certificate. Your third question was about previous knowledge or previous learning with psychology or related topics. Then here is an absolute, you know, I would say that most of our students did not come from this field. This was not designed for psychology graduates of universities or other courses. This was designed for the general public. We have a lot of HR managers, CEOs, travel agents, coaches, social workers. We have all sorts of students. We have students from more than 70 countries. That created a very vibrant and very an amazing community around it. Wherever Tal goes to speak worldwide, he meets our students. Just recently, about a week ago in Australia, and a few weeks earlier in Israel. Next month, probably but before that in France, soon
Mexico.
in Madrid, etc., etc. So every month there is a student physical actual gathering with Tal from the areas that he's visiting at the moment.
And I hope to visit Ukraine soon.
Wow.
Oh, me too.
You know, Tatiana, we're as we speak, we're creating a course with I don't know if you know her, Alla Klimenko.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's how I know you via her content account. Yeah.
Okay, so with Alla Klimenko, we're creating a course for Ukrainians on cultivating resilience through the field, the research in happiness studies, and that's coming out soon.
Yeah, that was my sign actually, which I got from the universe. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tal, there's a question in the chat. Which are the main differences between positive psychology and happiness studies?
Good.
Elaborate about the interdisciplinary.
Yeah, good. So positive psychology is a part of happiness studies. Happiness studies looks at what psychology has to teach us about happiness, as well as what philosophy has to teach us, as well as what neuroscience and literature and theology and economics. So it's an interdisciplinary field that brings together all that the greatest thinkers, the most important ideas in different fields, and how they can bear light on the question of happiness. Because you see, it is a real waste to ignore Aristotle and Lao Tzu, because they had a great deal to say about happiness. And what about, whether you're religious or not, what about what religion can teach us about happiness? And certainly neuroscience has a lot. Brain sciences can teach us a great deal about the good life. So this is integrating all these, and this is why we're not requiring a particular background in a particular field, even for our master's degree, because we do want people from different fields, because that makes for a very interesting conversations, a vibrant and diverse community with the focus on increasing levels of happiness.
What is the total length of the program? Well, this is, I would say 1 year, but I'm misleading you, because it is actually, you will, after the 1 year of studies, you will still get invitation for our weekly gatherings, kind of like the one that we're doing now, weekly webinars with Tal, that he will, is exploring a different topic in the field of happiness and of happiness studies, and is opening it up for questions, and this is happening every week, and this is happening for whenever you want to join, way after the year ends.
And we have people who've taken the certificate program 3 years ago and are now doing it again, because once you're in, you're in. So they're rewatching the lectures. In the webinar, every Thursday, we have some people who have been with us for, since the beginning, and we have people who literally just joined the program in June. In our retreats, so when I was in Sydney now, I met students who were part of the first or second cohort, as well as students who've just joined. So again, this is a community, and once you're in, unless you want out. We won't force you to stay. But if you want to stay,
additionally, the materials are constructed so that you have 3 depth categories. You have the gem category, which is good enough mark. This is the one that you're going through the entire year. You probably cannot, if you have some time restraints, if you have other things, or if you have anything else, you cannot go through the Gem Plus and the Gem Plus Plus within that year. So you can always go back and drill down to any of the materials that you find most interesting or more relevant to you, or all of them. And that will take you way longer than the year of study, and you can always do that. So it's open for you forever. Tal, there is a question. Oh, the requirement for the certificate. There are no requirements for the certificate. You don't need an undergraduate degree. You don't need the certificate is open for everyone.
Yeah, we had for the certificate we had we have college students, and we have 80-some-year-olds. So we have people with PhDs and some without an academic degree. So it's really the whole gamut. Yuval, how about we take another hand?
Sure.
So Guillermina.
How are you? Nice to see you both here from Argentina. I have three questions. One is, I understand that the live talks are not in Spanish, or one is in Spanish and one in Chinese. What about the material? Is it in Spanish or all the, but yes, okay. Because I'm asking because one friend of mine that he doesn't speak English, so he would like to do it, but if everything is in English, it's not going to be possible.
Right. So all the lectures are subtitled.
Yes.
So I deliver them in English, but they're subtitled in Spanish. And Yuval, I think I'm right. Most of the articles are also either translated into Spanish or in Spanish.
Correct. Also, all of the exercises, all of the platform, all of the letters that you'll be getting between and after classes, all of the correspondence, everything is in Spanish. It's fully translated. If you don't know a word in English, you'll manage yourself through the program and won't miss a thing.
Okay. My second question is, I learned about the program because a friend of mine did it, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, but in the States, yes, in presence. So,
good.
And he talked about many experiences that you did all together when you met in one place, and that was great. What are the differences between that program and this program?
Yeah, so it's a good question and an important one. When I ran the program in the past, first of all, it was in positive psychology as opposed to happiness studies. A lot of new material has appeared since. So this is obviously an updated program. It doesn't just focus on positive psychology, it focuses on happiness studies as a field. I'm much more involved in this program than I was in the other. Another difference is, as your friend mentioned, that program, you actually went to the US and you spent time in the US with the group. We decided not to do that. Why? Because that would preclude many people from participating, because it made the program a lot more expensive. You had to leave your home. If you were in Argentina, you had to fly to the US, twice, each time for a week. Now, so we made this decision to make the program 100% online for a simple reason, so that it's accessible to more people. However, there is also an upside to meeting in person. And we try to figure out, how can we have the best of both worlds? How can we make it accessible to many more people, and yet also derive the benefits of in-person interactions, which are very important, of course. So what we came up with was what we just described. The program itself is 100% online. So you literally don't have to leave your room to do that, whether it's the certificate program or the master's program. However, we also have retreats all the time, just about every month in a different place around the world. We have face-to-face interactions, meetings, where, as you've all mentioned, it was last month, it was in Sydney, Israel, France, Madrid, Mexico, Italy, China, as soon as China opens, Colombia, Antwerp, Belgium, the list goes on. So we have many of those. In the United States, of course, we have many of those, and you can attend none of them if you can't or don't want to, or you can attend them all or some.
And they are part of the program itself.
You don't need to attend them to graduate. But if you want to attend them, you can, because they're fun, because we learn a lot, because we interact, because we form a community, because you get to meet like-minded and like-hearted people.
Okay, yes, of course. And are they included in the cost of the program? Or if I want to take one of these live sessions, you have to pay an extra?
What it will cost you, what it costs, you know. So if you have to, if it's in a hotel, you pay for the hotel, and you know, a little bit.
They have a cost. Okay.
It's yeah, very low. Many of them are, most of them, when you know, when, for example, in Sydney, you know, I spent a day with students, it was, you know, it was for free, because we didn't have a cost of a hotel, and so yeah.
We do have additional to those, we do have annual retreats, which are a little bit more expensive, you know, to join or to arrive. I can, and then I'm answering a few questions in the chat by saying that we have, for example, next month will be for 3 days with our community and students in Akumal, Mexico. So when is he coming to Mexico? 3 weeks from now, he's coming to Mexico. When are you going to Akumal? 3 weeks from now, we'll be in Akumal, Mexico, but we'll be there for 3 days. So probably people will have to pay for 3 nights and accommodation, hotel, and things like that.
I understand.
This, to put it bluntly, Guillermina, this is not a profit center for us. You know, we're doing, the students are creating those retreats. We come, you know, wherever we have those retreats, you know, we attend.
Those retreats are being organized, by the way, by the HSA Alumni and Business Club. That was formed by the students and is operating as a non-profit organization, working by the students, for the graduates. Actually, when someone joins as a student, is already automatically part of the HSA Alumni and Business Club. It doesn't need to be a graduate, or it doesn't need to pay for that. And there are a lot of activities happening around it, also online and also physical ones.
Okay, great. And the last one, if it is possible, what I'm going to get when I finish the certification?
So you'll get a certificate in happiness studies, and what you'll be able to do is, it varies. So we have students who then go on and become a chief happiness officer of an organization. We have students who then take this material and apply it as managers or employees in an organization, teachers who apply it in their school. We have parents, you know, homemakers who want you know, to raise, you know, healthier, happier children, families. We have coaches who then use it to become, you know, happiness coaches. We have people who run, as Yuval mentioned in the video, who then run workshops and seminars in the field of happiness studies. So it really runs the whole gamut, because you can apply happiness studies to any field, literally to any field.
One example which I like is that we have one travel agent that is organizing trips around the world, using the SPIRE elements within each trip: the spiritual, physical, intellectual, and relational, and emotional well-being elements, and it is adding that to each of the trips that she's organizing, for example.
Very good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Thank you.
How much does the certificate program cost? The certificate program usually costs $3,900 for the full year, and for the full time you'll spend with us after, way beyond that year. Today, for the participants of this webinar, we use special discount for $500. You will find that in the chat, and you will get an email about it once this conversation is over. Confused about the GEM Plus, and GEM Plus Plus? different depth level categories of the exercises. The gem is the easiest one. It still has, it's the one that you need to go through in order to earn the certificate in happiness studies. The others holds more material, more exercises, more readings, more videos, more books to read, more suggestions of things to do. This is basically the difference.
And as you've all mentioned earlier, when you join the Happiness Studies Academy, it's the official course is a year. It could be a lifetime, because you may decide this year to go through GEM, or maybe to take 2 years to go through GEM, and then in 3 years' time to go through the GEM Plus, which is more in depth, GEM Plus Plus. It could be a lifelong, literally a lifelong journey.
A very important question here about the times of the webinar. There was a regular live webinar, as I live in Shanghai, concerned about the time difference. The time is, since we have students from more than 70 countries all around the globe, then we hold one webinar that is in a time that is convenient for half the globe, and the other week we do a webinar that is convenient for the other half of the globe. The ones that live in the middle of the globe, and there is no middle for the globe, but which is at least as it's portrayed in a flat, European middle, usually enjoy both webinars in a convenient hour. One is noon and one is in the evening, but we try to make it as accessible for everyone. So you always have a webinar that is convenient for you every other week, at least every other week.
And those that are not, you can watch the recording of course.
Right. Tal, maybe you take another hand.
Good. Is it Sabi or Sabi?
Yeah. Hi, how are you? Thank you.
Hi.
I have just one question. Thank you for sharing these examples about happiness in the beginning. But my question is, have you any more tools? For example, when you feel that negative vibes is around you, or you feel that excuses all around you, what will you do? Or maybe you have some biography. Thank you.
You mean when you experience negativity from other people, or when you are feeling down yourself?
No, for other people, for example.
Yeah.
Around you.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, because one of the things that's neglected in the field of psychology, and many psychologists actually fall into this trap, is the impact of the environment. So, we talk about personal happiness and we talk about what you can do to be happy, but we ignore the fact that other people affect us for good or ill.
Mm-hmm.
So, people who are around happy people tend to be happier. People who are around depressed people tend to be more depressed. People who are around smokers are more likely to smoke. People who are around people who eat, vegan food are more likely to eat vegan food. So we're affected by the environment. And by the way, this is where sociology comes in. This is no longer psychology, it's sociology. And ideally, what we want to do, of course, is to be around people who make us happy. But that's not always realistic. Not only that, not everyone is happy all the time. So even if we are around, the happiest of people, sometimes they'll be down and sometimes they'll be negative. And the question is, what do we do then? Well, the first thing to do is to accept the fact that it's okay not to be okay. Meaning that it's okay to feel sad, that it's okay to feel frustrated, that it's okay to be negative at times. A happy life doesn't mean that we're happy all the time. That would be unrealistic. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing. Accept natural ups and downs. Second, we need to also realize that just as we are affected by other people are affected by us. In other words, we have some control over what our environment becomes. So if we are around people who are negative, however, if we insist on bringing more positivity, and again, not all the time, but at least more of the time, then we will ultimately affect them as well. This is one way of affecting other people. Another way of affecting other people is through storytelling. You know, stories have a major influence on children who hear them, as well as on adults who listen to them. The most effective leaders are leaders who use metaphors and stories. So if you're able to generate positive dialogues with other people, even if they are negative, you are much more likely to affect them. And finally, yes, look for environments that that contribute to your well-being. You know, if you go to a dance party and people are laughing and or smiling and dancing and moving, yeah, of course it's going to affect your happiness. And if it does so, then go. Or if you are part of a group, whether it's a book club or a chess club or a country club. But if you're part of a group where, in general, people are open and fun and enjoy themselves, that will affect you. That is contagious, because emotions are contagious. Happiness is contagious. Unfortunately, so is negativity and sadness. And the question is not how to eliminate negativity from your life. That's impossible. But rather how to reduce it and increase positivity. And remember what I mentioned at the beginning, small changes make a big difference. So even if you find 3% more positivity in your environment, that in and of itself can make a big difference.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. How about I take another hand, Yuval?
Just a few quick remarks that I will do for the chat.
Okay.
Tell more about Mexico. So 3 weeks from now, there will be a 3 days retreat in Mexico for students. By the way, whoever joins the certificate now can join the Mexican retreat already. There's still a few spots available there. Do we get a certificate? Of course, when you finish the certificate program, you get your certified happiness trainer certificate. If I take the certificate and then I move on to the MA, do I need to take the courses again? The answer is no, but you don't need to pay twice. You paid for it already, so you won't pay for it again. But you will need to submit the work that needs to be graded on in order to get the MA. So during the certificate, you don't need to submit anything. You go through the course. During the MA, you simply submit the papers and get graded. Tal, you can take a hand.
Veronica.
Hi, good evening. Nice meeting you. I wasn't able to join when you began, and I want to know, will this recording, will you be sending it by email?
Yes.
Okay, that's such a good news. Thank you very much. That was my question.
Thank you, Veronica. Netta.
Hello, good evening. For me, it's early morning. I would like to ask 2 questions, please. First, it is well known that courses online are hard to be finished or conclude. So how do you deal with it? How do you help us?
Good.
Second one is exactly what Yuval mentioned about the things that we have to submit in the degree. So if you can point it out while doing the certification, so the tasks, so we will do it and maybe ask you to go over it to see whether we are in the right level, and we can proceed later on. doing the degree.
Okay. So first of all, how do we help you move through the certificate? The answer is we help you. So if we see that you're not engaged, we will call you. We will bring you in. The community is a very powerful force. There is research by some of the research that we talk about during the course by Wing and Jeffrey, showing that people who complete a program or go through a program are 200%, not 10, not 20%, 200% more likely to proceed with the changes if they're doing it together, as opposed to doing it alone. So it doesn't guarantee it, but it certainly increases the likelihood, the fact that you are doing it together with a community. The other thing is that when it comes to the certificate program, you can do it in a year. That's the minimum amount of time. But we have people who just finished after 2 years because one of them had a baby in the middle. The other had a job crisis, whatever it is. But we will help you, and the rest of the community will help you get through it. I
want to add to that is one of the things that we recently added. It's about 2 cohorts ago. We added the mentorship program.
Good.
We have graduates who are working as mentors within the program with newcomers, helping them go through the material, discuss the materials, even meet in person, because we do the mentorship program geographically. And that is more engaging and breaking a little bit the curse of the online graduation, as you mentioned. And we found that very, very successful program that is really helping our students to graduate.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, the mentorship program has really made a difference. And by the way, not just to the students, also to the mentors. So of course, the best way to learn is to teach. So by them becoming mentors and teachers, they're deepening their understanding and the internalization of the content. Now, as to us, reading your content and following up. Look, every day I get material from students' emails, and as every student will tell you, I always respond. Maybe not on the same day that I receive it, but I always get back to them. Or if they have questions for the HSA team, we always get back to them. And more students are forming groups within HSA where they send each other their material. So there is plenty of opportunity for you to share material, for material to be shared with you. Is it like the master's degree when you actually have a professor reading your paper and giving you feedback on the paper? Less so in the certificate program, much more so in the master's degree.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neta.
Thank you.
Now, there were a few questions about who is it good for. One of the questions was about, there were 2 questions that have therapist practice and asking, is it good for their practice?
Yes, the short answer is very much so. We have many therapists taking our course. We have our certificate program. We have quite a few signed up for the master's degree already. While this is not a therapy course, it's certainly not a substitute for a therapy course. It is a great supplement, a great complement to it. I'm also sending you now the name of a psychologist. His name is Rashid Tayyab, and he is an expert on incorporating positive psychology within therapy. So regardless of what we're talking about now, he would be great to look up and read on. So the answer is yes, very relevant to the to a therapy practice, very relevant for coaches, of course, as it is for teachers.
Another question was about, do you talk during the certificate about organizations, companies?
Yeah, so it's relevance for organizations. You increase levels of happiness by 3 or 4%, and you see increasing motivation, innovation, meaning creativity, productivity, teamwork improves significantly, and retention in the organization skyrockets. So just about every measure in an organization that you look at, you see an increase when you increase levels of well-being, and consequently profits go up, bottom line goes up as a result of increasing levels of well-being, which is why, first of all, we see more and more organizations focusing on the well-being of their employees, and second, we see more and more organizations doing it by creating the position of a chief happiness officer, or providing HR with a mandate of increasing levels of happiness, or the other C-suite, CEOs, CFOs coming to us and studying the field of happiness studies because they understand how important it is for the long-term success of their organization.
One of the questions that I missed earlier was, is it okay not to be okay, Tal? And I know that's a subject that...
Yeah, one of my favorite phrases, Demi Lovato, it's okay not to be okay. Yes, we need to give ourselves the permission to be human, the permission to experience the full range of human emotions: sadness, frustration, anxiety, envy, anger. These are all natural, and the more we accept and embrace them, the less they dominate our life.
Another hand, Tal.
Danielle.
Hello. I think you just answered my question, but I wanted to know about, sorry, I'm not sure where I am today, but I wanted to know about consulting and holding community workshops. You answered, it seems like you answered my question, but do you go beyond theory and to also teach how to teach in terms of how to reach people to be receptive and to understand that?
Yeah, great. Yes, I do want to elaborate on it because many of our students are come in as teachers, or and again, it could be high school teachers, or we have a couple of kindergarten teachers. We have quite a few university professors, and we have many workshop leaders and facilitators. And very often the discussion, actually today we didn't talk about it, but usually we do in our webinars, talk about something that has to do with teaching, or someone who's preparing a seminar for a business, or for their community. And we actually analyze, okay, so what do we include here? What elements of SPIRE do we want to focus on? What do I do if I have, the jitters before my lecture? What how can I create a workshop from scratch? How can I we had a workshop in our alumni club on how do I market myself? How do I market my workshops? So a lot of what we do, a lot of what our alumni do is focus on the creation, the dissemination, the improvement of teachings in the field of happiness studies or related fields, because many of our students prefer to conduct workshops on well-being rather than happiness, or on purpose, or on leadership. And these are all of related areas, and they incorporate the material that they learn. And again, as a community, we of course help one another do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tal. I think just to conclude, 2 weeks from now, October 3rd, is the next course open. There were a few remarks about the pricing. So what I can do about that is that during this webinar, we're giving a $500 discount. If you use the code HSA, or capital letters, HSA 500, you'll get the $500 discount. You can simply go to our website, the certificate page, and enroll there. If you have any more questions, then you can always write to info@happinessstudies.academy. We'll answer all of your questions. Basically, another thing that we can do is you'll find on our website that you don't need to pay everything up front. You can pay in 10 equal installments. The coupon code of the $500 will apply for the discount for the installments as well. Basically, that's it. Tal.
Terrific. So I hope to see many of you as part of our Certificate in Happiness Studies program or the master's degree. But regardless, what I'm asking you to do is take 1 or 2 MVIs, minimum viable interventions, and introduce them in your life. And you'll see that within a week, 2 weeks, certainly a month, these will become much more parts of your life. Because once you do something over and over again, it becomes a habit. And as the British philosopher John Dryden said, we first make our habits, and then our habits make us. So in order to make yourself into a better version of yourself, introduce just 1 or 2 MVIs consistently. And these consistent interventions will make a big difference to your life. Thank you so much for joining us, and take good care of yourselves and others. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tal. Thank you, everyone. You can all unmute yourselves, of course.